Welcome, everybody, to Universal Truth of Mankind. This is Dave, your host, and this is Meditation 201. Now, please like and share all my videos. I don't, I would like to get the word out and help people to deal with this new world that's developing around us. Also, I am on Rumble as well as YouTube, so please subscribe to both. That way, you're assured to get my videos because I am posting these videos on both. Okay, so. Oh, one other thing, playlist down below in the description. I have a playlist, Meditation 201. Make sure you listen to all the previous videos as thoroughly as you can, unless, of course, you're just perusing and just checking things out. But be careful about judging things without having a full context of understanding. Now, this whole time in all these videos, I should say in a probably majority of these videos, I've been trying to give you different perspectives of this illustration. And this time's going to be no different. But I am going to take a slightly different approach, duh, where I'm going to talk more about aiding your meditative process. Because I haven't touched on that this whole time, because I've been trying to give people an understanding, some knowledge, so they know how to create their own da'at, their own covenant. If you haven't listened to the previous video, very important also to help you understand what I meant by that. So now we know the first three is the creator. It's the big G, is what I like to call it. And we want to connect to the big G. We want to connect the Gevarah, the six sephirots below Da'at, and the transformation of Malkut. But we need Da'at to do that. And I've discussed that many times already, so I'm not going to belabor that too much here. With Da'at, you're creating a covenant with the creator. You're also creating a connection to the big G, to the creator. And like I said before, you can view Binah as Elohim. And Elohim is the fabricator of creation. And we see that explicitly described and supported in Genesis chapter 1. Elohim is the G, the big G, that's doing the creating creation. Okay, now, like I said before, that's neshama. So what you have to do during your meditations is you have to do, and it's the way I do it to create these situations, is I will go and I will thank the creator for creating, for creating the spiritual creation, creating the metaphysical creation, for creating the energetic creation and creating the physical creation. I thank the creator for being there and loving me and sustaining me. In other words, I'm expressing gratitude to the creator. What that means is I'm reaching to him. He can't receive anything from me. But if I reach to him, then I changed my nature into a giving nature. In other words, giving is what? Ahava. What is ahava? Love. I am giving love to the creator. Now I am connecting to the creator and I'm going to gain knowledge. Dot means knowledge of the creator. It doesn't just mean a knowledge between you and a male and a female, the husband and the wife. I've already talked about that in a previous video. So please go back and see that description. But a knowledge is being created here. What's that? That's like a tree of knowledge. So there's a subtree in here, knowledge, the tree of knowledge. And like I said, good and evil are not proper terms. And I covered that in a previous video, but I'm pretty sure I did, but just in case I didn't, I'm going to explain that in a few moments. Now, once you have that covenant, that love that you give to the Creator, and a Creator can't receive it, what does it do? It gives it back to you. It reflects it back to you. And how does it reflect it back to you? Through what's called light. So before I go to light, I want to go over to Binah for a moment, which represents also the soul. So we thank the Creator for our soul, our upper soul, which is called neshama in this case. The upper soul, neshama, is you in the eternal perfected form. So we are trying to bring that pieces, let that perfected form influence our knowledge, the six sephirots going between Geburah and Yesud, and having an impact on Malkut. That's what we're looking to do. Let it come down. And it's going to be sometimes it's going to be eyedroppers. Sometimes it's going to be a major download, but that's what's taking place. So your eternal is trying to transform your temporal. And one day we may explain that a little bit more. But the temporal is what? Physical creation. Now, let me talk about the tree of knowledge of good and evil now, which will, I think, pull in a better understanding of what I just touched on here. Tree of knowledge of good and evil is, to me, a mistranslation. When it talks about the knowledge, it talks about the knowledge of good. We can't be thinking in terms of English words. The good is our essence. And we use the word and. Well, in Hebrew, and is not necessarily an and, it's a connector. In other words, you could say that you're creating a spectrum between the essence and evil. But the word evil is really not a good description there, because you take a look at the Hebrew characters, it means eyes first, or primarily the eyes, which is our primary of the five senses. We all know the five senses: smell, hearing, seeing, tasting, touching. And you will see in chapter 3 of Genesis, those things are touched on, quote unquote, touched on, or I should say the five senses are touched on. So we're talking about the five senses. Now, we live in five senses only, and we don't connect to our essence, then we don't transform ourselves nor the world. You see how that works? It's a connection. You're connecting between the two. It's not a left or right situation. It's not an or situation. Think of it as a rheostat, or volume on your radio, which is really a rheostat, where you turn the volume up, you turn the volume down. It's still volume, whether you can hear it or not. If it shatters your ears, or it's at a nice comfortable level, or it's too low, it's still volume. And that's what we're talking about, tree of knowledge, good knowledge and evil. It's a continuum. It's a continuum between your essence, your upper soul, down to what? The five senses, which exists in Malkut. Yes, we have a physical body, but the physical body, because we need that for touch and for our five senses. So if we interpret everything by only the five senses, and we're not tapping into our essence, then we have a skewed view of the world. We have literally a simulation. We're literally living in a world that doesn't exist. So when I do the meditation, I'm grateful, I'm thankful, I create that da'at, I remind myself of the da'at, I love the Creator shines back to me. What does he shine back to me? This, the light. He reflects the love back to me, which is love, or I should say, the light, which gives us love, wisdom, revelation, sanity, righteousness, positive energy, and then healing. At that point, I'm talking about physical. Or also, I can say mental, but mental could be categorized under sanity. All right. Your positive energy could be your chakras. You could think of that way. Your righteousness is your heart's desire to transform your intelligent energies. Now, those intelligent energies that I'm speaking of is chesed to yesod. Remember, we're going left to right and then to Tiferet. So we're going in order, Gevarah, chesed. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Sorry. It's chesed, Gevarah, Tiferet, Nitzach, Hud, and yesod in that order. Now, at this point, I asked the Creator to transform my intelligent energies. Now, the Creator made intelligent energies. In fact, that's kind of what these are called, intelligent energies. In other words, the Creator we're creating an image of these intelligent energies. So our intelligent energies are messed up, chaosed, if there is such a word, but they're in chaos and they need to be put back in order. So I asked the Creator to map or to map to my intelligent energies and transform them into the proper image that Elohim wants us. That's Binah. Now, so you'll see, or you will have these intelligent energies transformed into this particular image, and then you become what? A son of Elohim. I talk about that in the previous video. Please watch that as well, and you'll better understand. Now, once I do that, then I will ask for light in my intuitive mind. Sometimes I'll do that first because really intuitive mind, that's like the da'at. That's my intuitive mind. And then I want to transform my rational mind. In other words, how you transform rational mind? You expand it. So I talk, we're all told that we have good and bad in us. We have good and evil in us. Or we pay attention too much to the five senses 99% of the time, and only 1% are we looking at what's above the physical. In reality, it's 1% physical, 99% everything else. That's the way we need to perceive this picture, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to turn this thing upside down. When I say thing, I don't mean the illustration here. I'm talking about the turning our world into the 1% and looking at the world that's above us 99% of the time. So I do that and I talk to my mind and I tell my mind, because it does have an ego. I say, ego, listen, I want the best for the mind and the body and the energetic energies. And what I tell my ego is, ego, you love the body. You love the experience that you have with the body. Well, if I can make the body healthier mentally, energetically, and physically, is that not a benefit to you? And the ego will, I know I can feel the ego a lot of times, just like relax. And then I move on to the next level where I start asking for the positive energy to go into my energetic being, like the chakras, for instance. I say, okay, the crown, the third eye, the throat, the heart, and so forth, right down to the base. I go all the way through. And I ask for positive energy to flow through that, and I ask of it to be energized, to be balanced. And I work on those chakras simply by speaking and focus. And then from there, then I go to the body and then I ask for the body's healing. I like if you know you have certain issues in your body, maybe you have pain, maybe you have anxiety, although that's more of a mental thing. You would ask your mind to be transformed in that case. But these are physical ailments. Maybe you have eye issues, you have hearing issues, you have maybe you have a cold. This is where you can ask for healing, or actually not ask, but you literally say, "Be healed." Now, if it's not healed, that doesn't mean that it wasn't working necessarily. It might be God's will for you to remain ill for a little while because it keeps you closer to Him, even because He wants you to focus on Him 99% of the time rather than 1%. So sometimes that's why we have pain and suffering, disease, and stuff like that, is because He's trying to get you to look at Him. And that's a nice summary of what I do. Now, in future videos, I will go into more and more depth in this, and I will, if you go to video playlist meditation 101, you get a little bit of insight in that series. So, questions, please ask. You can email me. It's in the description down below. You can do an email. Anyway, shalom, shalom, everybody, and thank you for being with me, and I wish you health and prosperity. Shalom, shalom.